Why consistency beats talent. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Streetball Strategies.
Yeah, I show up anyway. Heartbeat steady when the hands start to shake. Gifts fade fast when the work starts to break. But consistency compounds, that's how legends get made.
Today we're talking about using basketball consistency to beat superior basketball talent. Now, I've touched on these subjects a little bit in the past, each one, but today I thought I would combine them to talk about how you can use consistency to help you compete with superior basketball talent. But let me define talent real quick so we're all on the same page. See, a lot of when I would watch TV, like sports debate shows on TV, the big sports shows on TV, whenever they're discussing sports, often even like former players of those sports would confuse the term talent with either ability or skill. They would use the word talent when referencing skill or ability. My thing is, that's confusing because they're not one and the same. Talent leads to skill. Talent leads to ability, but talent is very own, like on its own, separate from those two. Talent is being born with the propensity to learn that skill or that ability faster than the average or most other players. And I have always been fascinated with talent because having talent, being born with it, is like hitting the genetic lottery. It's completely out of your hands. And if you happen to be talented, it's like being born with and hitting the skill or ability lottery. And I often reference on this channel how this channel is applicable to every basketball player, but it's meant more so for those of us, definitely me included, the players who we don't consider ourselves to have the same amount of like average talent that you would find in your average basketball gymnasium or park. Because I was born with very little to no actual basketball talent. Talent itself has always been fascinating to me, like how players use it, how they choose to use it. And if they choose to maximize it, optimize it, push it to its potential and beyond. And since I don't have talent, on this channel, one of the big things I do is try to instruct people, help people to use hard work and consistency to help compete with talent. So today, let's talk about how you can use consistency to help you be more competitive with players who are more talented than you. First of all, like I was saying, and I've said in the past about talent, is nothing beats talent. If someone's just more talented than you, then they're just gonna be better than you. But there are caveats, at least one, that can help you to be more competitive against those more talented players. That number one caveat is if that basketball player who is more talented than you, if he does not try, if he gets lazy, if he doesn't take you seriously, if he takes you too lightly, that basketball player now has left an opening for you to be much more competitive with them and maybe even to overcome them and beat them. For newer, younger players, that's something that you will probably encounter fairly often, which is players that are intermediate or higher, when they encounter newer, younger players, they don't take that beginner seriously because that beginner just isn't a threat to them yet on the basketball court. So when those more talented basketball players see a beginner basketball player, they think to themselves, I don't have to try as hard, play as hard, use my talent as much because this player who is obviously clearly inferior to me in terms of basketball talent, skill, ability, I don't have to try as hard because they're not nearly as much of a threat. For me, in my basketball career, I had that happen often as a beginner and even at the beginning stages of my intermediate level of my career as well. Just looking at me, you would not have expected someone who's 5'8" and like 140, 130 something to be any kind of basketball threat. So I was often not taken seriously. And because that happened to me often, I recognized that, okay, I have an opening here. These better basketball players who one of the major reasons why they're better is because they're more talented than me. They're giving me an opening to hang with them, to be able to actually compete with them because they're not taking me seriously because they know I'm not as talented of a basketball player as they are. And since they're giving me that opportunity, I want to take full advantage of it, the very best I can. This is an opportunity that I don't get all the time, but when I do get it, I want to take advantage of it, especially because probably once I become a better basketball player, a more formidable basketball player, my reputation hopefully spreads that I actually am a decent player that you have to take seriously. Well, like once that hopefully happens, I'm not going to have these opportunities anymore where people take me lightly as a basketball player. So while I have these opportunities where I'm not being taken seriously and more talented players are not playing hard against me, I need to maximize my chance to play as well against them as possible. And that's what I encourage you guys to do in this video. So even though, yes, while I believe that talent beats everything, ability, skill, consistency, whatever, a talent beats all of that, you still need to be prepared in case you come across a situation where people are giving you the opportunities to be more competitive than they would normally allow you to be. So that means preparation. You need to be prepared for these opportunities when they arise. And it's not just physical. Please expand your mind. Think outside the box. It's not just being physically prepared, having the physical skills or the physical conditioning. It's that and more. It's that and all of the mental aspects, the strategy aspects that go into being prepared, and all of the psychological aspects as well. You need to be prepared on all three levels: physical, strategic, and psychological. And to maximize that preparation, to me, there's two major components, and they can't really exist without the other. They're synergistic. Like, you can have one be stronger than the other, but overall as a player, you're going to be lacking. What I'm talking about is both consistency as a basketball player, but also genuine hard work that goes into improving yourself as a basketball player. There's really no point of putting a whole lot of stress and effort, time, and energy into one if you're not going to treat the other one just as equally. For example, it's common for players to want to go out to the court and put in a good hard day's work on the court, whether that be training or practicing, or even like behind the scenes, like indoors studying the game. It's very easy for a player to go, okay, today I'm going to work, or tomorrow I'm going to work really hard on my basketball game. So if we're talking about like training, a day of like physical training, it's really easy to have like a one-off, where like one day you have one hard training day. And after that training session though, like the next day you're probably tired, maybe you're exhausted, you're probably sore. And so you're probably not going to come back the next day or the day after that, or whenever you're scheduled to come back and train. You're probably you're less likely to do that because you exhausted yourself on that one day. And that goes for any kind of preparation. It's really easy to put in one hard days of work. It's really easy to put in one hard day of really hard work. But if you don't have consistency with that, you will make progress with that one hard day work, like every now and then. Occasionally, you'll still make progress, but it won't be anywhere near as good, anywhere near as fast or efficient. You won't make nearly as much gains as you would doing that if you put those hard days of work together in a consistent, scheduled pattern. And the inverse can be said when it comes to consistency. So if you say, okay, I want to be consistent as a basketball player in terms of growth and improvement. So what I'm going to do is like at least 5 days a week for an hour every day. So like 5 hours every week. I'm going to go out to the court and I'm going to shoot around. Now, if you guys know me, I'm not a fan of just shooting around because there is no organization. There's no improvement being made. Like there's no significant improvement because you're just out there putting up random shots, just doing random things. And there's no structure. And because there's no structure, there's really no real improvement going on and happening. So even though you're out there every day for at least an hour every day, like 5 times a week, being consistent, the fact that you're not really putting in any real hard work, there's no drill, there's no workout, you're not pushing yourself, you're just sort of putting up shots lazily and wasting time. because of that, even though you have the consistency, since you don't have the hard work that is required for real improvement, yes, there is improvement that will be made there, but not nearly as much as if you use that consistency for actual drills and workouts where you push yourself. So you can have emphasis on one and not on the other and still make a little bit of progress, but when you combine the two together and put like equal emphasis on both and equal stress as I'm going to be consistent, but I'm also going to put real hard work in simultaneously, that's where they work synergistically together, and that's how you make the best, biggest improvements. That's how you get as prepared as possible for those opportunities when more talented basketball players are taking you lightly. Now, when you do hopefully make the decision to combine them together, use them together to create that synergy, now we come into a third element, a third component here, which is whatever you're using to practice, training, studying, to make improvements with by using both hard work and the consistency, there has to be an element of difficulty. Whatever you're doing, it has to feel difficult. There has to be a real challenge there. Thus, that's how you gauge whether or not you're actually putting in hard work, because it's not really hard if it's easy. So there has to be some kind of difficulty, some kind of a challenge there. The more difficulty there is, the more resistance you feel of trying to accomplish whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. That means the more progress is being made. The more difficult it is, the more progress that means that you're unlocking, going through that difficulty process. So if you want more progress, more improvement, the harder it is for whatever it is you're doing, that means the more potential there is there that you're trying to unlock. But if it's easy, then that is an indicator, a direct indicator that you're really not making much basketball progress. Either that or you're talented. So because talented players, it's just easier for them. I'm not saying that talented players have it easy and they don't work hard and they don't grind and they don't hustle. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that in direct correlation and comparison to us, the players that don't have their talent, it's much easier for them to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish than it is for us, because they can use their talent to accomplish those things where we don't have that talent to use to help us accomplish that stuff. So we, as the non-talented basketball players, we have to look for the difficulty. We have to look for the problems so that we can face those problems face on and then work to overcome them. And then really the goal is to like find the most difficult, like whatever weaknesses we have, attack the biggest, most glaring weaknesses that we have, because those are going to be the most difficult things to overcome. And since they're the most difficult, that means we have the most potential for improvement there. Those are the things that you want to attack first and foremost. And then you sort of work your way to the stuff that you go more towards your strengths as you improve your weaknesses. But you want to attack your weaknesses first because that's the most amount of potential that you have to unlock, because they're the most difficult to improve. Now, the idea of looking for the stuff that's most difficult and then attacking it, if we're talking about the two components of hard work and consistency, I would say that as a general rule, of course, there's always exceptions and players are different, but I would say for most players, when it comes to like, okay, what's more difficult? Is doing the hard work difficult, or is doing the consistent basketball consistency? Is that harder for players to stick to? In my opinion, the answer to that question is the consistency is more difficult to maintain than like spurts and bouts of hard work, because you can motivate yourself to put in the hard work on the basketball court doing basketball stuff to get the improvement that you're looking for. In the same kind of way, like if you're overweight and you're looking to lose weight, it's easy to get motivated to lose weight and then force yourself to do whatever weight loss program you're going to do for however many weeks or months that you're going to do it. It's easy to find that motivation. It's easy to force yourself to do that for a certain amount of time. The problem is that if you want that improvement that you get from that occasional hard work to continue and grow and like maximize itself, the key to that is that consistency. But if you're forcing yourself to do stuff that you don't really want to do, that consistency is not going to happen. You can force yourself to do anything for a very limited amount of time, but sooner than later you will give up because you're forcing yourself to do it. You don't really want to do that basketball stuff, so you will eventually give up. So to me, like, sure, you can force yourself from time to time to do really hard work, but it's more difficult for the average player to consistently do it over and over and over again, because then when you get to that point, now you're talking about repetitiveness, tedium, boredom. How do you work through that? It's easy to do it once in a while and get really motivated to do it, but how can you repeatedly do it to get the maximal results? So if, especially over the long term, basketball consistency is harder to maintain than the occasional hard work, how do we approach that consistency to be able to actually structure it in a way where it's not a problem? You look forward to the consistency. My advice for that is the same as it is in many other videos, many other topics on this channel, which is you got to make it enjoyable. You got to make that consistency evoke emotions in you that you really you appreciate, the emotions that you want to feel over and over and over again. There are 4 different emotions that you can use as tools to help you be more basketball consistent. Those emotions are just pure enjoyment, or gratification, or fulfillment, or satisfaction. Now you can say like those are all kind of the same emotion. Yeah, sure. But it's like everybody kind of internalizes those emotions differently. So whatever works best for you, you got to figure out how to structure that consistency so that when you're being consistent, you feel at least one or hopefully a combination of those 4 emotions. Because if all of those emotions are absent and you're just working hard consistently and it's just like torture over and over and over again, and there is no enjoyment, there is no satisfaction, there is no fulfillment, there is no gratification. If it's just hard work and it's torture, again, you can force yourself to do that for a while, but sooner than later, you're going to give up, and all of the improvement that you were making is either going to stop or fall off. So to keep that consistency going, look deep inside. I know that sounds weird, but look inside of you and figure out how you can make whatever you're doing, whatever work you're doing, the consistency that you're building into it. Find ways to evoke those, at least one of those 4 emotions while being consistent. The classic example I give is doing like line drills, line sprints back and forth. I always say I hate doing cardio in terms of like high intensity cardio. If you're doing like zone 1 or 2, like that's whatever. But when you're really pushing yourself and your heart's beating hard and fast and you're breathing, it's hard to breathe and you get tired fast. That's the kind of cardio that I hate. I can't stand doing it. Now, playing a basketball game and like part of my off the ball the main part of my off the ball basketball game is like running my defender ragged. I can do that all day, every game, and it feels like nothing to me because I love doing that. It's fun to me to do that. So that cardio I'm completely fine with. When we're talking about like go out to the court, run line drills, or get on the treadmill and run for X amount of time, I can't stay. It feels like torture to me to do that. But if it's, this is Michigan and I'm basically an outdoor player, if it's spring and I'm trying to build up my conditioning for the upcoming summer basketball season, and I'm an active player way back in the day, I would go out to the court and run line drills and do that on a consistent basis in the spring to prepare for the summer. I would do that even though I hated it, even though it was torture to me, and I was able to be consistent with doing it, not because I was forcing myself to, but because while running those line drills, even though they were not enjoyable during the actual sprinting of them, it was afterwards, after I completed the drill, I would think to myself, okay, that was terrible and I hated that, but there was a feeling of gratification that I'm able to be on the court, able to run these drills. I'm grateful that my body is capable of doing that, and this is going to lead to me being a better basketball player. There was a feeling of satisfaction of, I did this really hard thing that I know I hate to do, but I did it anyway. I didn't have to. I chose to do that hard thing, and I completed it. Therefore, I feel a real, genuine feeling of satisfaction. And from those feelings of satisfaction and gratification came a feeling of fulfillment. Like, I did what I meant to do today. I really came out here and I really put in the work. And I know that because I have that satisfaction, that gratification, that tomorrow when I don't want to come back and run that line drill again, I'm going to do it anyway, because at the end, I'm going to have the same feelings again tomorrow that I just had right now. But saying like working hard and being consistent when you feel good on good days, like that's relatively easy. But what about like the off days, the bad days when you don't really feel like it? Because I had those often as well, especially like in the spring when I'd be first trying to get into shape for the upcoming basketball season. Even though I was really motivated and being off the court all winter, I'm really excited to get back on the court. There would still be days like I would wake up and feel exhausted from the day before. I'd be tired. I'd be groggy. Maybe I'd have a headache. Maybe I just wouldn't feel like it for whatever reason. It would just be an off day. I could tell and feel like today is going to be an off day, meaning like on days I feel good, doing that work is relatively easy, but now it's an off day. So now I know that work is going to be that much more difficult. How do you be consistent on those days as well? So depending on the day and how you feel, if you feel good, it's a good day. Or if you feel bad and it's an off day, that's really going to determine sort of what the emphasis for that day is. On the days that you feel good, it's about hard work. It's about pushing, trying to get better, if you're running drills and workouts, you're probably tracking your progress. So you're trying to get better. You're trying to make more progress in those drills and workouts. But in those off days, and hopefully those are like the vast minority of days, like you feel good most days, but there is no getting around the fact that you're going to have bad and off days as well. In those off days, the priority then should probably switch from pushing yourself and making the improvement to just baseline showing up, still doing the work, not making excuses as to why you could skip that day or whatever and not show up. No, on those bad days, it's about just showing up and just putting in whatever effort you have to give. And usually for me, and probably for everybody else, like on those off days where you feel off, you feel bad, you feel like it's just not going to go well that day, and you show up anyway, what usually would happen to me is like I would start whatever drill, workout, whatever I'm doing for that day, I would go into putting the work in and find that like, okay, yeah, it did suck and it wasn't nearly as good as I would have liked, but it also wasn't as bad as I was expecting either. And that sort of feeling of, okay, it wasn't as bad as I expected, it certainly wasn't good, but I could probably try a little bit harder. I could probably push a little bit more. There's probably, even though it's still a bad off day and I feel bad and off for that day, there's still probably more I could push. And then you push a little bit more and you push a little bit more until you actually start having a good day that you didn't expect to have. That doesn't happen all the time. There are days where it's like just a bad day no matter what happens, but there's also many days that start out as bad days, but because you showed up and because you tried and you find out that, oh, it's not as bad as I had hoped, and then that bad day can work its way towards a good day where by the end of it, you do find yourself pushing, you do find yourself trying, and you didn't expect to. So on those bad days, at the very least, show up. Don't make excuses why or how you could skip that day. Show up and do the work that you're scheduled to do it. Even if you do it at a lower register, just be consistent by finding ways to enjoy yourself even on those bad days. So put the emphasis on being consistent. The hard work's going to come. Like you as a basketball player who's looking to get better, and like that's your sort of main goal, is like, I want to get as good as I possibly can be as a basketball player. That means that like innately, the hard work's it's gonna happen. You will work hard, you will push yourself. The harder part is the consistency, staying consistent. That's where the enjoyment, the gratification, satisfaction, fulfillment's gonna come into play. Now, that's where I say like, this is one of the many aspects of psychological basketball where you need to think outside the box. You need to think of ways to, you need to have like plans and strategies of how you're going to make that consistency something that you actually do want to do, that you want to repeat, that you want to do over and over again, that you wake up in the morning excited to do. Not just every now and then, but like every day. You go to bed excited that you get to wake up the next day and do that basketball thing, instead of what happens to many players, which is like, it's day to day for them. But for us more serious players, it's like, okay, no, I have a plan for tomorrow, I have a plan for next week, and schedule, and it repeats itself, and by doing that, that's how I get better, and I like that, I want that, that excites me. That's what we're looking for. But to get to that point, you have to think, you have to put this kind of thought and strategy into it, like, how am I going to make it enjoyable? And that's a huge part of like why this channel exists, is talking about things like this, where most players, even like serious players that play, this is an outdoor recreational channel, even organized players, they don't really put this kind of thought into their game. But for us, because not only are we outdoor recreational players, but again, we are usually less talented than most other players around us, and we're always trying to play catch up to those other players. Since we're always trying to catch up to them, that means we don't have any choice. If our real, true, genuine goal is to be the best player we can be, and hopefully that in doing so, that means we try to compete with everybody, and we're always trying to catch everybody, that means we have to do everything all other players do. All of the work that all of the other players do, we have to do all of that work just the same as they do. But for us, we also have to go above and beyond. We have to do work that they don't. And part of that is like planning, having strategies that they don't think about, that they don't care about, that they don't consider, they don't think is practical. Not only do we have to do everything that they do, but we have to work, plan, and have strategies for things that they don't, above and beyond them, because that's our only real chance and choice to catch them and hope to compete with them. So think outside the box. Think outside of whatever box the average normal basketball player keeps themselves in as a basketball player. Think outside of it, and don't be embarrassed to do so. Like, be proud that this is your passion and this is how deep you get into it. You're not looking to be a regular average player, so you can't just do what regular average players do. You have to do that and so much more. For example, I had contingency. So if it's springtime and I'm supposed to go out to the court and do whatever basketball activities for that day, what happens if it rains, or if the court is wet from the night before? What happens if there's a situation where I'm scheduled to go to the court, out to the park, and I can't because it's wet or raining? Well, that could be an excuse for me to skip that day, whatever basketball stuff I had planned for that day. But because I know I have to go above and beyond, like the average normal player would be like, if I can't do whatever I have scheduled for that day, then that's an excuse for me to skip that day. But because I'm not normal, I'm not average, I'm always trying to work to catch up to them and put in work that they're not willing to do, knowing that I may not be able to do whatever it is for that day, I have plans, backup plans, contingencies for what I'm going to do basketball-wise for that day instead. I'm not just going to skip that day. I'm not going to make excuses why I can't do X, Y, or Z that day. No, I'll do something different that I can do that will still give me basketball progress for that day. But having those plans, those strategies, those contingencies, take planning, planning that just no other basketball players do, because they either don't have to because that's how good and talented they are, or it just doesn't matter to them the way it matters to us. So that's how you can use consistency to help you be more competitive with more talented players. If you like this video, if you found it helpful at all, if you think doing so, using the strategies to be more consistent will help you actually be more competitive as a basketball player, then please subscribe to the channel. And let us know down in the comments, how do you stay consistent? What strategies do you have that allow you to put in work, especially on days that you don't really feel like it? Like on days where it'd be easy for you to make excuses as to like skip that day. What plans, strategies do you use to be more consistent? But before you comment, make sure you hit that thanks button down below, because not only does hitting that thanks button make your comment highlighted and stand out from all the other comments, but it also directly supports the channel when you hit that thanks button. So for anyone that does hit that thanks button, know I genuinely appreciate it. As always, like, share, comment, like I said, make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any video goes live on this channel. And until then, see you guys next week. Hopefully back out of the park soon.
I seen promise disappear in the summer. I seen bench warmers bloom every winter get tougher. You gift cool, but what you gonna do when the shots stop falling, crowd stop calling, clock says 0 and it's just you. I was never the chosen, never the can't miss. So I married repetition, turned out to a list. Check 1, show up, check 2, lock in, check 3. Bad days, still shoot, still spin. Ooh, yeah, show up anyway.